Hello, everyone. Welcome to Byron K. Ward presents Business Leadership with Action. And we're thrilled and excited today. We've got an extremely experienced, successful, and she even trains other people how to be successful. On our show, we always try to highlight stories from men and women of color, especially those examples of business excellence from African-American men and women. So sit back and enjoy this story of success, leadership, money, and inspiration. Today, I am very happy and honored to host this exclusive interview with Dr. Cozette M. White. She is a financial expert. She is the CEO of My Financial Home Enterprises, and she is also a TV host. She's a resident expert on Money Matters, tax expert for Fox TV, and many other things. So we'll have a chance to talk about some of your other strengths. But hello, Dr. White.
Hello, Brian. How are you? Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. So thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to talk to the community, the tribe. Thank you. All the other thought leaders and community leaders and entrepreneurs that may be watching this. Thank you.
Yeah, we do have some of that community watching, and I think we'll pick up a lot more by the time this show is over.
Okay.
I see you all around on the media.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Fox Television, different publications. Yes, I try to get out there and just make sure that I'm spreading the news as it relates to anything money. It could be personal finances, it could be our taxes, it could be for our business owners, it could be for retirement, but just as long as it's about building that wealth and getting our money straight. Like, leaving a legacy and educate, empower, and inspire.
And that is certainly what we need in the community.
Yeah.
Very often we're on the short end of things related to money, finances, taxes, all the above. So I'm sure I'm looking forward to learning something myself from our talk today. And go ahead.
I just said absolutely.
Yes, and I was going to add that with all the media exposure you have, it is we're very appreciative of you joining us. Fairly new show, and so thanks for taking some time with us.
You're very welcome, Brian. I appreciate this opportunity. This is home, you know what I mean? This is home, so thank you so much.
Okay, outstanding. Well, let's, as I like to say on my show, let's start at the beginning and take us back to the young child, toddler, adolescent, Cozette White.
Absolutely. So for those of you who don't know my backstory, I started some years ago. I grew up in the city of Carson, which is here in California. And at a young age, my mom passed away. And so my grandmother is the one who is very instrumental in raising me and ensure that I got the best of the best growing up as a child. My career, for all of you who don't know, it started when I was, I'm going to say 19. I think I was right about that age, 19. I had got my first job, my first W-2, and I walked over to my grandmother and asked her if she would assist me in doing my taxes. And her exact words were, "Baby, I'm gonna need for you to go upstairs, get yourself a pen, get a paper, and you need to come on back down here to this table and we are gonna do this return together. Now, back then, you all, this is when we were doing returns manually. We didn't have e-file or anything, so I'm giving my age, but we were doing things manually. And so anyway, she helped me complete that very first return. And I want to say I got back maybe $100. Now, back then in 83, 84, that's when it was, $100 was a lot to a 19-year-old. So I remember going back to the college campus. I went to Cal State University, Long Beach, and I remember sharing with, my close girlfriends, my sorority sisters, and others on campus that I did my return and I got back $100. So it was then that kind of laid the foundation to me doing taxes and starting my tax business. It was not something that I had ventured out to do. It was not something that I even thought about becoming an entrepreneur, because as I would say it, and I'm going to say as I would say it, I'm the very first entrepreneur in our family. However, as I have the conversations with other family members, they will say to me that I'm not the first entrepreneur, as they would say some of my grandparents had businesses, and maybe they were in real estate or things of that nature. But to me, I'm the first entrepreneur that has built a business, in one in which I am very proud of. So that is where the journey truly started, Brian, and to all of you that are listening. I went ahead and after I graduated, I entered into corporate America. And I stayed in corporate America a lot longer than I wanted to. And it was simply because I was holding on to the seat. I was holding on to the bag. I did not realize that there was more for me once I left corporate America. But I will say that I got a lot of my experiences working in corporate America, the leadership skills, the skill set, the knowledge, everything that it really took to grow this business and to help me help other business owners grow their business. So I won't go too far. I know you got some things you want to ask me.
Well, yes, you fast forwarded all the way to college. Did you go to Carson High School? What was your youth like?
So actually, I did not go to Carson. That was our crosstown rival school. I went to Banning, and I went all 3 years to Banning. And to be honest with you guys, my inspiration for staying in the field of tax and accounting was my 11th grade teacher. Mrs. Paramore set me down one day because I was that student who was uncertain what I wanted to major in when I put in those applications for college. And she set me down as an 11th grade student and said, here's what I would recommend. If you major in the field of accounting, you will always have a job in this area. And so as a young lady, a young girl in high school, that was the advice that I stuck to. I went home, I had the conversations with family, and, shared with my teacher recommended. And so all of the applications that I filled out, I would put business administration accounting. So I never veered to the left. I never veered to the right. I didn't change majors in school. I stuck with accounting, and I graduated with a degree in accounting. And I had my very first job. My very first job was Unical. If any of you remember Unical, it was downtown Los Angeles, and I worked in the corporate accounting department right out of college. And it was in those moments, the first couple of years of graduating from college and moving into corporate, that I said, I did not want to do this for forever. I did not want to get up, come to work, have someone mandate when I had to be to work, when I left, how much money they could pay me, how much, work, the workload they can give me. But it made me a stronger person. I did not leave corporate America. I stayed in corporate for over 20 years before I took the leave to say, I'm ready to step out and run my own business as an entrepreneur.
Now, that's a long time since you've fast forwarded to that part of your career. Um, what were some of those experiences? I mean, 20 years, did you work for multiple companies and, you know, move forward through switching companies, or did you stay at one company and work your way up?
No, I did not stay at one company. I stayed with Unical, which was my very first corporate job. I stayed there for about 3 years as a entry level staff accountant. I got my feet wet, and for me, it was a blessing in disguise because I had an African American man who was my leader, who was my mentor, and who made sure that I knew the ropes of accounting. Now, it's one thing to study accounting in school, but it's another thing to go out in the real world and really apply what it is that we learned. So I had an African American brother who took me under the wing and showed me the ropes. And I got to a point where I was ready to promote. There were no positions open in the organization, and I had relocated to the Ventura County area. So that is when I made the shift and I went in. That was the oil industry. From the oil industry, I went into automotive. And I will actually say when I made the shift to go into automotive, Brian, is where I got a lot of my true hands-on experience. I worked for an organization that was growing really fast and opening up shops all over the US. So that's where I would say I got the experience with setting up new companies, ensuring that all the correct infrastructure was set up with the different locations from state to state, ensuring that if we went into Nebraska, everything according to the state of Nebraska, we set that location up correct. If we went to Wyoming, we set up everything correct according to the various agencies in Wyoming. So I will say, and I was promoted to assistant controller, and subsequently worked my way up to the controller position at that location. That was a fast-paced, growing organization, but it allowed me to develop a lot of my leadership skills, and it allowed me to be in a position where I was able to manage a team of, I think I had 30. So, in retrospect, if I had to look back, and I think I was probably 34 at the time, it was a lot of responsibility that was placed upon me as a 34-year-old managing a team of 30 and just working with the dynamics of individuals that were older than me, younger than me, and being an African-American woman and just dealing with some of the office politics, let's put it that way. So I worked myself to a point where they were not going to promote me any further. And so I knew that I wanted more out of life. I knew that I wanted to grow. And during this time, I was still working this business on the side, but I never had the faith in myself to realize that I could have stepped away from the corporate job and work my entrepreneur business or work my business. And the reason, as I said to you earlier, to be honest with everyone, I got comfortable with bringing home a paycheck every 2 weeks. I got comfortable with knowing that I had medical, dental, vision. I got comfortable with knowing that if I was sick, I had an insurance plan. I had a backup plan at the job that says, you're off 5 days, you have sick pay that you can, pull into. So that was the mindset that I had. I wasn't thinking any different until I actually took the plunge. But before I left corporate, I was working in manufacturing. And that was in the aerospace industry, where the company was building filtration for the various airspace. So in that organization, again, I had a staff that I was responsible for. I was also responsible for the human resource department, and IT reported to me as well. So as I grew and as my leadership skills grew, I had more responsibilities placed upon me in corporate. And I think as well, that was one of the reasons that prevented me from really devoting time, the time that I needed to build the infrastructure on the other side, because I had the full-time job and then I was running this business on the side. But once I built to a point where I felt the infrastructure was in place over here, I said it's time to leave.
That's a good point to take a breath, because I did want to ask you a couple of questions about how you got here to Ventura County, and a little bit more about those companies where you were doing the national level of work and in diverse industries like automotive, and then switching to aerospace. So take a breath, get a drink, and we'll pay a couple of bills here, and then we'll come back to that. Okay. Reminding everyone that you're listening to Byron K. Ward presents Business Leadership with Action. And we have a public service announcement here for an event coming up in conjunction with the Juneteenth holiday celebration. There's a project that Community Advocacy Coalition and Samara are sponsoring. It's called the People's Art Campaign. And it's going to happen on June 17th and 18th. And there's a national artist by the name of Milton Bowens, whose art sells for as much as $50,000 per painting. He's going to give a lecture at the community college. There's going to be a pre-sale to the art collection that he's painting for us, exclusively for us here in Ventura County. There's going to be over 30 original pieces that he's working on now. Again, it's called the People's Art Campaign. So you can get information by visiting the website of 993 FM and CAC's website, which is the-cac.org. So again, be on the lookout for the People's Art Campaign in conjunction with the Juneteenth celebration happening in Plaza Park. And the Juneteenth celebration itself is on June 18th at Plaza Park in Oxnard. So we want everyone to look out for that program and learn something about art. He's going to talk about art as an investment, and maybe Dr. White can chime in on that at some point. So going back to our esteemed guest today, I neglected to mention that you're a best-selling author as well. So I want to throw that out there and make sure you get your proper kudos for being a published author, very successful. I have several of your books, and I can attest to, I see why they're bestsellers.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Brian. Yes, thank you.
Now, I think we left off, and I was asking you to backtrack a little bit, and I don't know if you want to share the name of the company or not, but I think that's interesting to our audience to see the different journeys and the different paths that folks in business for themselves and corporate leaders, how they get to the point that they're at.
Sure. So the name of the company when I relocated here to Ventura County was Ready Break, and they were in the city of Ventura. They sold, they did not build, they sold the undercar parts, the brakes, the chassis, anything that had to do with underneath the car is what they sold. And I forget the president's name, but just he started with one location. It was really two locations here in Ventura County. And he decided that he wanted to grow, and he took it national before he sold all the Bruce was his name. I think it was Bruce Douglas, but Bruce, before he took all of the locations nationwide. He
Against her if you're watching this interview.
right, right. But it was Ready Break in Ventura. And just like I said, rapid. When I say rapid, we were opening up stores probably every month. And that
Wow.
went on for a good 3 years.
So what was the size of that company when you started and at the point that you left? Because it sounds like you became a key person.
I think when I joined the company, they were right at about 12 million. So in a matter of maybe 4 years, they grew from 12 million to about, I think it was right at about 67 million with opening up all the various stores. And by the time I actually left, I think they were right at, I think 77 million is where they were at.
Yeah, that's a nice size business. And your role in now you had an accounting role, correct?
Yes, my role when I initially joined the organization was the assistant controller. Thankfully, the controller resigned, and so that was my opportunity to fill his seat. And so that is where, when I said I got the responsibility, the growth, the leadership, by taking over Patrick's position. He left, and I had a staff of 30. So that brought on a new role for myself, because I had AP, AR, I had all of the sales team.
Yes.
And when we talk about roles, we're talking about, administration. We're talking about ensuring that we're given evaluations. We're talking about everything that you do as a leader of a department, managing those different personalities, ensuring that systems are in place, ensuring that things are effective, desktop procedures, ensuring that the operational goals are met. My role was to ensure that all the financial statements were completed. And you were talking about 99 locations. We were corporate. So I had to consolidate and roll up all the financial statements for all 99 locations. So you're talking about managing money, moving money around, and ensuring that all of it was done succinct and on time. And we were still private at that point. We were not public.
Right.
So it was a journey. It was a journey that I enjoyed. But at some point, it became overwhelming managing 99 locations. And that's when I, as the leader, Cozette, I decided, is this what I want? I enjoyed the fast pace for about 6 years, 7 years. And then after that, that's when I said, I think I want something where I'm not dealing with 99 locations.
Right.
I want to deal with just the one organization. And that's when I decided to look for another position. And of course, like most leaders in corporate America, when we move on to another organization, we're looking to promote ourselves and grow. So that's when I went to the company called Cool Pack. I'm sorry, I went to Cool Pack, but that's not the manufacturing company. It was PTI. PTI is all about filtration. They're nothing but aerospace, building the parts for the planes, the space, aerospace, you name it. That's what the company did. So there, I went from 30 to 11 employees, which was a lot peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
Not as much red tape. However, I will say this. When I went into that organization, I was working with the staff that was more mature, more older than me. So I had a lot of obstacles that I had to overcome the first 18 months coming into that organization. I had individuals that had been in positions for 20 years that fought me coming in as an African American woman, younger than them, implementing policies, and I got a lot of pushback. But I didn't allow that to stop me. I stayed there for 13 years before I resigned and actually in the position in which I'm in now as the CEO of My Financial Home. But
Yeah,
that was a,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, the reason I asked you to go back to those experiences, because I wanted our listeners to, I wanted you to share with them what it took to be part of that growth and the responsibility that you took on. Because had you not gone through that, if you did not have that level of success and responsibility, you may not, if you didn't grow, you likely would have either stayed there or you would have made another move to grow. So
Right.
in fact, your moves were necessitated by your success.
Right. Right. And it's funny that you say that because sometimes I will sit and think about our millennials. And I think about how the millennials don't stay in any particular position for a long period of time. When I think about the millennials and I think about their job or work ethics, most of them last a very short period of time on a job. And when I talk to them, it's all about money. Most of them are money driven. They don't have a desire, a dedicated desire to stay in any position long enough to grow, to excel, and to become a true leader. Most of them just hop between jobs until they get the pay in which they want it. Now, I will say, and I'm no different from anyone else in the workforce, yes, I was driven by compensation based upon the work that I was putting on in an organization. And I felt as though I will say in the automotive at Ready Break, I had grown to a level where I think I was in my early 40s, probably mid 40s, early 40s. I think I had grown to a level where I was at a point where I said, they're not paying me enough to do all of the work in which I do. And I have 99 locations that I, as the financial officer, the controller, I'm responsible for, not to mention the 30 employees that were underneath me. That was a lot of responsibility that was on my shoulders, the long hours and much more.
Absolutely. And thanks for sharing that. We'll give you a little break again, and we'll remind everyone that you're listening to 99.3 FM, and you can also listen to our podcast at byronkward.com. And so we have these interviews are available on demand at byronkward.com. So Dr. White, you are the CEO of My Financial Home Enterprises.
Correct.
So tell us about this venture.
Absolutely. So this venture, as you guys have already heard, it started years ago. And it just has grown, it has blossomed. My Financial Home, we started out just doing taxes. And as I got to a point where I knew that I wanted to leave corporate America, I started developing another leg, and that was doing accounting. Believe it or not, the accounting leg is really what saved me and what really allowed me to say bye-bye to corporate America. I had the experience. Everything I did in corporate America, everything, when I say from contracts, proposals, marketing, IT, human resource, accounting. I was never truly over operations, but I knew how to interact with the operations managers. I knew everything they did down there because I dealt with them daily, and mostly I dealt with them daily. So I took everything that I learned and I transitioned and transformed, or I'm not going to even say transform, I transitioned into my financial home. My financial home, we offer taxation, accounting, and other business services. We service primarily 6 and 7 figure business owners who are looking to grow their organization. So it was a matter of strategically moving from corporate to the other side as entrepreneur and making sure that I had my systems in place. I will say to all of you, I had left corporate America earlier on in my career, and I tried to do this as an entrepreneur, but I wasn't ready. I was not ready. It was not successful. And I was not making the type of money that I was making in corporate America. So I made a decision. Let me just go on back to work for someone. And I tell you, it was the hardest decision that I had to make, because the first 4 months or so, it was tough going back, working for someone, having someone, a VP, tell me what to do, and not being able to leave when I wanted to. So I made sure when I went back, I put everything in place that I needed here on the other side, so that when I got to the point to say bye-bye corporate America, I did it with grace and ease, and I had my infrastructure set up. And when I came over to this side, everything was, I'm gonna say it was easy peasy. I'm being honest. When I started as an entrepreneur day one full time, I came over disciplined, I had systems in place, and I started to build a team. The first week that I started, that was my mission, to build a team. Who could I bring on? How can I hire so that I'm not in here doing all the work myself and do it successfully? So that's what we do here at My Financial Home. I also have another component, another leg to the business, and that is the Tax Curative Lab, or the Tax Curative. And we are a solutions provider for tax professionals who are looking to grow, scale, and leverage their tax firm. We offer education, we offer training, whether it's digital training, whether it's live courses where they can grow their business, scale their business, and much more.
Outstanding. Now, what is your structure? When you moved over, were you already incorporated? Are you a sole proprietorship?
That is a very good question. I stayed sole proprietor probably my first 10 years as of having this business. And when I came out the first time, I went as I set the business structure up as a limited liability structure formation. And then later on, as the revenue grew, I elected to become an S Corp for tax purposes. So currently we are an S corporation.
And how many employees do you have?
We have 5 employees, and we have about 6, right now we have 6 virtual independent contractors. And those independent contractors work in the capacity of social media, content writing, marketing, and we have 2 social media. So we have 4 right now. Our full-time employees, we have an executive assistant, we have a CPA on staff, we have a tax person on staff, a sales tax, and then we have 2 tax individuals on staff. So everyone is all in the tax accounting department that are our full-time employees.
Right. Now, are
I
your
forgot, we have 2 salespeople. They're independent.
So do your employees work virtually, or do you have a brick and mortar office?
No, we are a virtual firm. We have been virtual since 2006. We have 2 employees that actually will come here to the office. The rest of them are all virtual employees.
So you were set up for the pandemic well in advance.
I was, and the beauty of that, to all of you who are listening, I didn't really struggle because I had systems in place. But I will say, as a tax professional and a tax educator, during that time, I can't tell you how many business owners in the tax industry came to me to be trained to set up their virtual office. So we did tons of VIP days helping other tax owners set their business up virtually.
That's right. And you were an expert presenter at an event that my company, Samara, put on to educate the community
Right,
about some of the COVID funding.
right. Man, COVID funding. I'm going to say that was a historical time, unless something else should happen in our industry. But when COVID came on, our industry was hit really bad. We were set to help business owners with funding, help business owners with the SBA loans, the EIDL, the PPP. And what we encountered in this industry is that several business owners, business owners start up every single day. There's a percentage, 20% that fell in their first year, about 50% at year number 5, and year number 10, if they survive, great. But the problem is, Brian, is that business owners fail to ensure that their financial affairs are in order. So when the pandemic hit, and because we did the presentation, the webinar, a lot of business owners were not properly prepared, whether it was legal entity, whether it was filing taxes, you all, or whether it was maintaining proper financials month in, month out. And so when they went to apply for the EIDL or for the SBA loan, they weren't prepared. So we in the financial industry, we were hit with making sure and helping all of the business owners get financially prepared so that they could submit for these loans,
Right.
for these EIDLs, for this funding, which was, we got through the last 2 years, but what we saw was a scramble. A lot of business owners were scrambling to meet the deadline so that they could get the funding. But yeah, we saw a lot of it.
So
And
as a, pardon?
also, since we had SBA involved on that summit,
Yes.
on that webinar, a lot of business owners as well didn't qualify because of their credit score. So what we've done as a result of learning that so many didn't have the score that they needed, we began to ensure that all of our business clients are equipped with learning how to build business credit. That may start from the personal side, but we've made sure that everyone that we work with, we're building that business, helping them build the business credit.
Yeah, that's outstanding. I'm sure there were opportunities there for you to introduce those business owners, small businesses primarily, to Dun and Bradstreet and some of those essentials
Yes.
for those persons in business that need a business profile.
Yes, yes. And it is critical, you guys. Build your business credit so that you are not leaning or relying on your personal credit if you are a business owner to fund your business. OPP, other people's OPM, other people's money, but build the credit if we have anyone that's listening that's on the business side.
Right. Now, you're demonstrating and sharing with us the level of success that you have attained. are there some key principles or values that you think have led to your level of success?
For me, I will say to any of you, consistency has been my friend. As I was sharing to Brian prior to us joining, having this conversation, I was just sharing with him when I left the corporate environment, one thing that was instilled in me at a younger age, as well as in corporate, is consistency. So I come into my office and I work on a daily basis. I could be out there enjoying the sun, enjoying the beach, so on and so forth, but making sure that I built a to ensure that I built the business to grow to the level and success in which I have, I had to come in here and just make sure that I set systems up and that I consistently worked to grow the business. You know, dedication, I'm dedicated. But it for me, Brian, it was the consistency. And one thing that was instilled in me as a young lady is if you're going to show up and give it your full energy, give it everything. Don't half do anything. You know, my grandmother always said, your name is the only thing you have. Make sure you represent it correctly.
Right. Now, tell us a little more about that consistency. Are you referring to doing things the right way, the same way every time? Are you referring to the hours that you work? How do you mean?
That's a good question. I'm talking about when you show up. How do you show up? Do you show up consistently in your actions? I'm not necessarily saying that you have to be in the office every day from 9 to 5. Whatever you do, it just needs to be consistency and consistent, not consistency. It needs to be consistent in such that everyone knows, well, we can rely on Cozette. We know she's going to make it happen. If she says she's going to do something, she is going to do it and it'll get done. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But I show up consistent. I don't change. And I'm just always making it happen, making things happen. And like I said, it's just my consistency.
So
Not
doing
giving
the same.
up, not giving up. And not necessarily, Brian, the same thing, but just making sure that I show up and I'm giving the energy and I'm dedicating the time to get it done. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Right. Well, that certainly carried you a long way. What are there any other characteristics that you could share that have helped you to be as successful as you are, has allowed you to maintain that consistency?
Any characteristics? I guess I would just say again, besides consistency, I'm dedicated, I'm a hard worker, and I believe in making sure that I'm going to pull the next generation back, or those that need help, pull them back and bring them forward with me, paying it forward, if I could say it correctly. I think that would probably sum it up. And when I say pay it forward, that is exemplified in the work in which I do as the educator, ensuring that the new tax professionals that are coming on board or the season, mentoring, coaching, and providing the curriculum and the courses to ensure that they are successful. So
right, and we talked a little bit offline about your role as a mentor and tangible examples of how you do give back and pull others forward.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I think that could probably sum it up. Just yeah.
Okay. Well, again, we're here with Dr. Cozette M. White. the financial expert and accountant extraordinaire. And we're on 99.3 FM, KJBU, as well as ByronKWard.com. And you're listening and watching Byron K. Ward presents Business Leadership with Action. Dr. Cozette White, what's in the future? What's next for you?
Well, I think as we talk about the near future, I'm going to say my conference that's coming up in August. I am hosting the Limitless Possibility Intensive Weekend for tax and accounting professionals who are looking to grow, leverage, and scale. It is a 3-day phenomenal experience with a VIP day, but we're going to take a deep dive into mindset. We're going to talk about the 7 pillars to be successful. We're going to talk about those pillars are the message that we convey into the marketplace, marketing, sales, talent, operationals, financial, and I can't think of that 7th one right now, but we're going to talk about the 7 pillars to being a successful business owner. And then on day 3, we are going to map out a 12-month plan so that when they leave the experience, when they leave the intensive, they are ready to go and shake the planet up, so to speak, but put them in position so that they have a plan that they can go back to the office and execute after spending 3 days with us. So that is August 25th, 26th, and 27th in Hollywood, California at the W Hotel. And tickets are on sale now.
Wow, you're hosting and I have some knowledge of your training programs. So you're kind of on a level in the accounting area with a Les Brown, Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy, and those kind of folks.
Go ahead and put me right there with them. Yes. Yes. Limitless possibilities.
Well, are there some success stories that come to mind from some of the people that have been exposed to your teachings?
Sure, I can give you a couple of them, but when we talk about growth, I will say that I had one lady that came to me, and her initial thought was she wanted to work another year before she left corporate America. She's a CPA in Connecticut, and I think within 6 months of working with me, we had assisted her with structuring her pricing. And she started pricing accordingly, and she was able to replace her full-time salary. If I'm correct, she was somewhere at 75, 80,000. So she was able to surpass that, and she quit her job. And she's been self-employed for about 2 years now. Another young lady, she is a CPA in North Carolina. She was able to see an increase in her revenue of about 387,000 within 3 months, simply because she changed her pricing structure. She was really not charging a lot, but changing her pricing structure, and she started adding other services and shifting some things within her organization. She had a firm of 7 people that was in her office. She brought on a few new people, but just infrastructure within her CPA firm. So those are just 2 just right off the top. There's others, but those are just 2 that I can talk about.
Okay. So for you to have attained the level of success, you've quoted some dollar figures there from some of your mentees, but you share with us the size of your organization. You haven't talked very much about revenue or what, you have an event coming up, but do you intend on growing or what's kind of your vision for the future?
That is a great, great, great question. Yes, we are a growing organization. Our revenues right now are right at about the 2.2 mark. Um, as far as growth, we are growing. I am actually, believe it or not, within the next 6 years, I will be looking at an exit strategy and I will be turning the business over to my daughter. So when we talk about legacy, I have actually brought my daughter into the organization. I am training her. I am her mentor. I'm her mentor, helping her to develop as a leader so that she can take over the business and continue to run it. There are some other things that are boiling, but I don't want to spill the tea, but that is my desire within the next 6 years to actually turn it over to my daughter and allow her to step into the role. I'm not sure if she's going to step into the role of a president, but that is something that we are working towards.
That is outstanding. And I appreciate your candor in sharing those revenue figures. And I did that because I want people to get a real idea of how persons with the right approach, with the desire and putting in hard work, how they can attain whatever they want, really.
Whatever. Limitless Possibilities is the name of the conference, and the world is yours. Abundance is our birthright, and sometimes it just takes being in the right place at the right time. It takes being under the right leadership, under the right coach to just make it happen. And that goes back to when I say the consistency, the dedication, and the drive. You know, for me, as we close, I think my drive, if I was to share this, and I don't know if we're closing, but my drive to a lot of people, and I don't often share this, but both of my parents are deceased, and I always feel like I'm doing things to make them happy. I always say that my parents are looking down at me, so I always want to make them proud. So that's what's in me, that drive to just make them smile from above.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that.
Mhm.
Yes, we are in our final moments here. And I just wondered, do you have any additional words of wisdom, or is there a saying that keeps driving you, or have you read a good book recently that has inspired you to continue?
I will just say, I don't really have any, I just say go where the heart leads you. Wherever the heart leads you, just go with it. And my favorite saying, if anybody has been in the room with me, is inspect what you expect. So if you expect a certain outcome, you have if you have to inspect it in order for the outcome to be what you want. So inspect what you expect.
Inspect what you expect. And I
Mhm.
haven't heard that one before, so
I say it
I'm
all.
presuming that's original.
You need to inspect it. Whatever you expect, you got to inspect for the to have the outcome that you want. You can't give a task to someone in your office and expect that it's going to always come out right. So you got to go inspect to make sure that they clearly understand the outcome or what the project should have. So you got to inspect what you expect.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Well, she's Dr. Cozette M. White, and she spent some time with us here on Byron K. Ward Presents Business Leadership with Action. And before we close, Dr. White, I'm so appreciative of you joining us today, sharing of your wisdom, your philosophy, your grace, and the level of success that you've brought to our show and our audience.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. To the audience, if you want to follow me, just follow me at Cozette M. White. I'm on all social media outlets. You guys can Google me to read some of my past work that I've done, see some of my footages, my videos, my articles, things of that nature. As Byron stated earlier, I am a 6-time best-selling author. You guys can visit Amazon.com. All of the books are there. Just Google or put in Dr. Cozette M. White. And my favorite is Attracting the Best and Unveiling the Mask. And so those are my two. And for those in those that are in corporate, especially to my women who are listening, there is a book about negotiating in corporate America. How can you negotiate your way through corporate America so that you are happy? You know, what can you do when your back is against the wall, when you reach the glass ceiling? So check that book out. It is designed specifically for women in corporate America, and it is on Amazon.com as well. Again, just put my name in, Dr. Cozette M. White, and I wish you guys the best.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cozette M. White.
Yes.
And we want to remind you that Byron K. Ward Presents Business Leadership with Action is produced and underwritten by Action Human Technologies, LLC. Our program is broadcast live from the studios of 99.3 FM KJBU in Oxnard, California, and airs at 9:00 a.m. Pacific time on Saturday morning. We also stream live on 99.3 99threefm.com, and we're available on demand at 99threefm.com, as well as video of our podcast can be viewed on byronkward.com. We're on LinkedIn at Byron K. Ward, Instagram, Byron K. Ward, Twitter at Byron K. Ward, and also on Facebook. And we appreciate all of you that take the time and energy to listen to our show and watch our show. And we're signing off until the next time. Thank you so much.